So Bob Iger is hopping on the damage control train yet again and doubling down on his agenda, his ideology, and getting very defensive.
Have you ever watched someone go from Hollywood's next big thing to public enemy number one almost overnight? That's exactly what happened to Rachel Zegler. One moment, she was a rising star ready to lead Disney's magical world into a new era. The next, she was at the center of one of the biggest box office disasters Disney's ever faced. And the craziest part? It wasn't just the movie that bombed. It was her entire public image that went up in flames. Rachel's story started like something straight out of a fantasy. Born in New Jersey to a Colombian mother and a Polish father.
Well, the primary suffering is being sent in by my company to watch a children's movie as a single man, like 2 p.m. on a Thursday. That was the first part that was a little bit weird, but I was basically the only person in the theater.
She had no family in the business, no famous last name, and no connections. Just a dream, a webcam, and a whole lot of determination. She sang her heart out in high school musicals, wowed her classmates in productions of Shrek and The Little Mermaid, and shared covers of Broadway songs on her YouTube channel. She wasn't waiting for an agent. She was putting herself out there for the world to see. And then, the world noticed. Steven Spielberg, yes, the Steven Spielberg, was casting for his long-awaited remake of West Side Story.
She's now bragging about the success of Snow White, which is a movie that's going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars, and mainly because of her, and because nobody wanted to support her.
Rachel submitted a video audition, and out of over 30,000 applicants, she got the call. It was a Cinderella moment. Critics praised her performance as Maria, calling her voice angelic and her presence undeniable. Awards buzz followed. The entertainment world was abuzz with talk of this breakout star. Rachel wasn't just on the rise, she was flying. So naturally, when Disney began searching for the perfect actress to lead their live-action remake of Snow White, all eyes were on Rachel.
Very few people wanted to see this. Even the little kids who like Disney movies, even they don't seem to be turning up in droves for the movie because the movie is really, really bad.
Disney had been scoring hit after hit with remakes like Aladdin, The Lion King, and Beauty and the Beast. With Rachel's fresh talent, Gen Z appeal, and Broadway-level vocals, it felt like a done deal. She was cast, and fans were curious. How would she reimagine a classic like Snow White for the modern age? Well, they got their answer. And they weren't happy. It started small. A few quotes here and there during press interviews.
Theaters. And as you know, there were no dwarfs other than some CGI weird generated version of them. It's the old, it truly is go woke, go broke.
Rachel mentioned that the original 1937 version of Snow White was weird and said the storyline was outdated. She made a passing remark that the prince was basically a stalker, since Snow White had never even spoken to him before he kissed her. At first, some people laughed it off. Maybe she was just being cheeky? Maybe she was trying to bring a modern lens to an old tale? But then the tone changed. Rachel doubled down in later interviews. She said the film was being rewritten to focus more on leadership than romance.
And so I've got some bona fides here on being fair. The movie was absolutely terrible.
That Snow White wouldn't be dreaming of true love anymore, but instead becoming a fearless leader. And that's when the pushback really began. Disney purists were outraged. Fans who had grown up with the iconic film felt like Rachel was tearing down something they loved. They started saying she was disrespecting the legacy of Disney. Comment sections exploded. Hashtags trended. Still, it could have stopped there, but Rachel kept going.
Don't alienate half of the country when you're putting out a product meant to appeal to all. It's the Michael Jordan Republicans buy sneakers too.
In another interview, she addressed criticisms by saying that certain political groups didn't need to watch the movie. "I don't need your business," she said. And just like that, the internet caught fire again. People across the political spectrum asked, "Isn't this supposed to be a movie for everyone? Why alienate potential audiences?" Whether she intended it or not, Rachel's comments made the film feel divisive before it even hit theaters. Behind the scenes,
in every way that the movie differed from the beloved 1937 original, it was worse.
Things weren't much better. Whispers started to spread about friction between Rachel and her co-star Gal Gadot, who was playing the evil queen. Some said they had completely different visions for the movie. Others pointed to subtle shade in interviews. But it all blew up when Rachel reportedly referred to Gal as just a pageant queen, a comment fans immediately called out as shady. Gal, known for her grace and poise, stayed quiet. But her silence only added to the speculation.
For every one of the 18 hours I am in this Snow White dress, I expect to get paid. If it's 18 hours, I want 18 hours of pay. I'm sure she got underpaid as a Disney lead actress.
Then came Rachel's now infamous cast appreciation post. She thanked nearly every major cast member, except Gal. The omission wasn't subtle. Fans instantly flooded the comments asking, "Where's Gal?" Others joked that the evil queen was really living up to her name off-screen, too. The drama became more interesting than the movie itself. And every time Rachel tried to defend herself,
So from the casting to the class politics, the sexual politics, the regime politics, everything about it was liberal.
it seemed to backfire even more. By the time Snow White finally hit theaters, the vibe had shifted completely. People weren't going to see a beloved fairy tale brought to life. They were going to witness the fallout. The $370 million budget between production and marketing loomed over the release. Everyone was watching. But when the box office numbers came in, it was a nightmare. Only $43 million opening weekend.
So she just encapsulates everything that most of us cannot stand about modern day feminism and the left in general.
A brutal 66% drop in the second week. It lost to low-budget films with fewer screens and no big names attached. Then the images started rolling in. Empty theaters, audience selfies with entire rows to themselves, videos of employees showing seat maps with barely a handful of seats sold. One clip showed a theater with just 3 people in it. And then, Rachel herself went to see it. She filmed herself laughing with friends at how empty the screening was. Some said she was trying to embrace the meme. Others said it felt like she was mocking the very people she hoped would support her. That's when Hollywood started backing away. Rumors swirled that Rachel had been tapped for major roles, like voicing a new character in Toy Story 5, leading a Pirates of the Caribbean reboot, and even starring in a horror trilogy by Blumhouse. But after the backlash, silence. No press releases, no confirmations, no follow-ups. One by one, those rumored opportunities faded into the shadows. Insiders started whispering that she had become a PR risk studios didn't want to touch. Disney tried to contain the damage. They brought in PR teams. They assigned a social media manager to help guide Rachel's online presence. Even Spielberg, the man who discovered her, reportedly reached out personally to try and help. But it was too late. The narrative had already been written, and it wasn't the one Disney had hoped for. Eventually, Rachel posted an apology. She said she was sorry if her comments came off the wrong way. She explained that she didn't mean to offend anyone. But the video felt stiff, polished, scripted. One fan commented, "This looks like Mickey Mouse wrote it." Others called it too little, too late. Supporters defended her, saying she was young and still learning. But the damage had been done. The final numbers sealed the deal. Snow White brought in $142.8 million worldwide. Not only did it fail to break even, it became one of Disney's biggest financial disasters in recent memory. On IMDb, the film's rating dropped to a jaw-dropping 1.5 out of 10. Critics panned it. Audiences slammed it. Memes exploded. It was no longer just a movie. It was a cautionary tale. Rachel, who had once been Hollywood's rising princess, now found herself frozen out. Red carpet invites disappeared. Interviews dried up. Her name, once associated with promise and potential, was now tied to one of the most chaotic marketing runs the industry had seen in years. Can she come back? Maybe. Hollywood loves a redemption arc. But it's not guaranteed. Some say she's burned too many bridges. Others believe she just needs time away from the spotlight to regroup. But the truth is, the court of public opinion is brutal, and once audiences turn, it's almost impossible to win them back. The story of Rachel Zegler and Disney's Snow White isn't just about a flop at the box office. It's about how quickly things can spiral out of control when celebrity meets controversy and when confidence turns into carelessness. It's about a studio that bet big and lost even bigger, and a young actress who went from the next big thing to a walking headline. Sometimes, fairy tales don't end with happily ever after. They end with canceled premieres, empty theaters, and a whole lot of regrets.